There's a special place in hell for this guy, and I'm hoping he is there for a long time. I'm hoping our district attorney's office goes for the death penalty.
Merced County Sheriff Vern Warnke saying what we're all thinking in this barbaric murder of 4 family members in Merced County, including an 8-month-old girl. This heinous act began Monday morning when the suspect kidnapped the 4 at gunpoint. On Wednesday, their bodies were found in an orchard near Dos Palos. Now, Fresno Police Chief Paco Balderrama also making his feelings known in a tweet, quote, "I'm furious, completely senseless and tragic loss of innocent life. My heart breaks for this family. I pray justice can be served in this murder case and those responsible be held accountable to the full extent of the law." Sadly, that's not saying much with California's weak laws. So it's been a heartbreaking week filled with anger and utter shock and, frankly, a discussion we need to have. So we want to welcome in our panel. Board member appointed by Governor Newsom for California High-Speed Rail Authority, former Fresno County Supervisor and former Fresno City Council member and former mayoral candidate Henry Perea, and KMJ's Philip Teresi, host of the Afternoon Drive. So welcome both of you. First, I want to get reaction from you guys because Governor Newsom didn't come out personally to talk about his condolences. He did it through a spokesperson through his office. Now, that's not totally uncommon. We get that point. But this is a national story. An 8-month-old girl was involved, a heinous crime. Should he have done something a little bit more personal, a video message on Twitter, Facebook, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is absolutely a heinous crime, national attention, probably worldwide type attention. He certainly, in my opinion, should have come out and personally made a statement on it, and I certainly hope he does attend the services for this family because I think it warrants it.
I agree completely. A statement from an underling is not enough. You're the governor of the state of California. An 8-month-old baby was left to die. A family was murdered. This requires something more than a sympathy card.
Sheriff Warnke, you heard him there. He is angry, upset. I'm sure he could have said a lot more, but we can't air those words. Police Chief Paco Balderrama rarely, I don't, you know what, I won't even say rarely. I've never heard him speak anything politically, ever. But yet he did in this tweet here. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, things like this they're a gut punch. I mean, especially when you talk about that 8-month-old child. I mean, it affects us all as parents and as grandparents. So yeah, it's going to give that kind of reaction from us. But I agree with him. There, in the instances of low-level crimes that have been really diminished as far as penalties for people, it's frustrating the police, definitely frustrating the community because too much is happening where people aren't being held accountable. In the case this other side of this coin, the murder, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind there's going to be probably special circumstances and there'll be a death penalty case.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a political statement coming from him. I think it's a statement of fact, and I think it's important for somebody in his role to acknowledge that reality. We have allowed our standards and our laws and our enforcement mechanisms to be eroded year after year in this state. This isn't shoplifting. This isn't even a basic robbery. We've got an entire family decimated. We've got a repeat offender who in any sane society would have spent much longer in prison and who would have been very easy to determine as such in a basic background check out free to do what he did.
And you're talking about the 2005 where it was a similar act, but he basically held at gunpoint another family. That family survived. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison, served 8. So I'm wondering, has California and its state legislature at this point, along with the governor, have they decriminalized criminals, and how much will this play a factor now? This incident alone play in the midterm?
Well, I mean, I think there's no question we have decriminalized criminals at the lower level of offenses. I don't think so necessarily at the higher level crimes, even though there's always that pressure of people serving out their full terms when you have prisons that are overcrowded, et cetera, you know, all that goes with that. But I think it's going to play a part in the midterms. People are frustrated. I mean, just look at the economy alone. People are frustrated. But people, when they don't feel safe, they react at the ballot box, and I think people are going to react.
I agree with the latter part of that. I do think that this is going to play in the midterms, and rightfully so. But I think that the well-intentioned idiocy of lowering those standards and releasing people prematurely and reducing sentences, especially for people who are committing offenses like this suspect, it wasn't just that he robbed somebody. He snuck into their garage, he took the father at gunpoint into the house, duct taped him, threatened to murder his daughter in front of him, and then threw them in the pool so he could go drain their ATM account. Again, this wasn't taking a TV out of Target. This guy changed that family forever, and he did 11 years. That's not enough.
He did 8.
8 years, excuse me. He was sentenced to 11, did 8.
Right. So I'm wondering now, does Newsom need to reinstate the death penalty?
Yes.
I would think so.
All right. Because majority of voters in California say that we need the death penalty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, going back to your question, have we decriminalized criminals? We have a death row of people who were found guilty and sentenced to this absolute highest possible punishment that are just sitting waiting to die of old age because of Newsom's policies.
Let me get to Dr. Castro. We're always running short on time here, but he stated some regret. He pointed out that he went by the book, and he now questions portions of the CSU hiring their own investigator in the report that they came out with. And I'm wondering, after hearing from him, he wanted our viewers, and he didn't say you guys, but I'm asking you guys as the panel. He said that he wants everybody to draw their own conclusion. So, what's your conclusion?
My conclusion is that we need to have better mechanisms for reporting this kind of behavior, and we need to make certain that we don't have a fox guarding the hen house, as was the case with Dr. Lamas being in charge of the department that should have been following up on this. I also think that there needs to be additional scrutiny when at any level you have a department head bringing in friends, because while bringing in people you're familiar with isn't a bad thing, cronyism and working relationships with friends from outside of that situation can lend itself to a blind spot.
All right, finish it up.
Yeah, well, having a career of over 30 years in human resources, I've dealt with a lot of these cases over the years. And when you look at someone at the level of Dr. Castro as a president, or look at a school superintendent, anybody at a high level position, they don't get involved in those day-to-day issues like this. That's why they have administrators who are charged with making sure that everything is done right. I would say in this case, this was a system failure for those folks under him that were supposed to be doing their job. And when they had the attorney from the state system who was saying, you know, you did everything right, but maybe his staff didn't do enough right so that it could have been mitigated. So, you know, honestly, I think the Castro was railroaded, you know, by the system. I think there was probably something else going on. Just knowing his Be Bold policy in Fresno, you know, he changed a lot. He did a lot for this community. And I think when he went up to the chancellor's office, he probably started shaking the tree there, and maybe that made some people uncomfortable. And this just became a convenient way to move on.
All right, guys, we got to leave it there, unfortunately. I wanted to get to Measure C and taxpayer money, but we'll talk about it closer to the midterm, because I know that it'll be a hot topic as everybody will get their voter guides this week, okay? Yeah. Philip Teresi, appreciate it. Henry Perea, thank you.